In the late years of the classical era, when Greece was tearing itself apart and Persia ruled half the known world, a child was born in Macedon. His name was Alexander, son of Philip II, heir to a kingdom that was never meant to rise. This is the story of why every empire on earth feared Alexander the Great. The mid-4th century BCE marked the rise of Macedon from obscurity to destiny. In this age, kings ruled by blood, but only a few ruled by vision. Alexander was forged in a crucible of contradictions, a student of Aristotle, yet raised by warriors, a prince surrounded by assassination plots, yet destined for immortality, a child who listened to Homeric epics, yet grew up watching his father carve nations apart. He was born into a kingdom that the Greeks mocked, that Persia dismissed, and that no one believed would ever shape history. But Macedon was awakening. Under King Philip II, the kingdom transformed from a fragile tribal land into a military machine. Iron phalanxes, elite cavalry, siege engines unseen in Greek warfare. Macedon grew not like a seed, but like a storm front, rolling across northern Greece with earth-shaking force. Yet the true tempest was the boy watching silently at Philip's side. But everything changed in 336 BCE. Philip II fell to an assassin's blade, and the world turned its gaze to a 20-year-old prince. Enemies expected hesitation, weakness, collapse, but they were wrong. With a speed that stunned the Greek world, Alexander executed conspirators, crushed uprisings, and marched across rebellious cities, and demanded loyalty immediately. Where diplomacy failed, fire replaced it. Where cities resisted, they were razed. Before the year ended, the Greek world understood one truth: a new force was rising, faster, fiercer, and more relentless than anything before. By 334 BCE, the horizon shifted. The Persian Empire, sprawling from Egypt to India, believed itself eternal. Its kings had ruled for centuries, its armies numbered in the hundreds of thousands, and its wealth dwarfed anything in the Mediterranean. When Alexander crossed the Hellespont, he did not bring an army, he brought a declaration: the world will change. Now. His first victory at the Granicus River in 334 BCE shattered Persian confidence. But it was at Issus, in 333 BCE, where Alexander revealed the true nature of his ambition. There, facing King Darius III and his colossal army, Alexander did not retreat, he did not negotiate, he did not fear, he charged. The Macedonian wedge tore through Persian lines with mathematical precision. The companion cavalry cut toward the heart of the battlefield. And then, Darius fled. The symbol of Persia, the embodiment of its authority, the living god king, now running for his life. This was the moment the world realized Alexander was not conquering territory, he was breaking civilizations. Yet Issus was only the beginning. By the early 330s BCE, Alexander had transformed from a Macedonian king into something larger, an unstoppable phenomenon. In this age, cities did not merely fall, they collapsed under the weight of inevitability. Tyre resisted. For 7 months it resisted. But Alexander built a causeway across the sea itself, stone by stone, corpse by corpse, until his army walked over the waves like a force of myth. When Tyre finally fell, it fell in fire. Gaza followed. Egypt opened its gates, and in the sands of the desert, at the oracle of Siva, Alexander was proclaimed son of Ammon. Whether he believed it or not, the world began to speak his name in the same breath as gods. But Persia still lived, battered yet unbroken. So Alexander marched through mountains, deserts, frozen plains. At Gaugamela in 331 BCE, the world held its breath. The battlefield was a theater of scale and terror. Darius' war chariots, his tens of thousands of immortals, the sheer immensity of imperial might. Yet Alexander advanced as though destiny itself had cleared the path. When he gave the signal to charge, the Macedonians hit the Persian line with such speed and discipline that the battle turned in moments. The Persian Empire, one of the greatest in human history, fractured that day. Its king fled once more, its heart never recovered. And the world understood. No empire could stand untouched. If Alexander set his eyes on your throne was already gone. By the late 320s BCE, Alexander's empire stretched across continents, but vast empires create vast shadows. As he pushed deeper into Asia, across scorching deserts, against mountain tribes, through resistance that blooded even his elite forces, the king began to change. Not in ambition, in intensity. He adopted Persian customs, demanded divine honors, and replaced old generals with new loyalists from distant lands. Yet the machine kept moving, through Bactria, into Sogdia, across the Hindu Kush with snow up to the chest of horses. But darkness followed. Brutal guerrilla warfare drained morale, rebellions forced massacres. The army began to question him. Even the air seemed to turn against him. However, the true crisis came in India. At the Hephaestus River in 326 BCE, after years of ceaseless marching, the Macedonians refused to continue. Not out of cowardice, out of exhaustion. They had seen lightning split forests, monsoons swallow entire divisions, war elephants trample phalanxes, and endless rivers that led only to more wars. Alexander raged. He threatened. He isolated himself. But in the end, even kings must bow to reality. The march toward the end of the world stopped. The greatest conqueror since the dawn of civilization turned back, not defeated, but denied. In 323 BCE, Alexander returned to Babylon, now the beating heart of his empire. But something deeper stirred. Whispers of rebellion, fractures between his Greek and Persian officials, tensions across newly conquered territories. Alexander planned new campaigns: Arabia, Carthage, Rome itself. His map was not full. He believed it never would be. Yet fate intervened. In June of the same year, after a fever that glowed through him with merciless intensity, Alexander the Great died at the age of 32. No enemy killed him. No empire defeated him. No battlefield claimed him. He was undone by a mysterious force. Historians still argue about what killed him, but speculations include poisoning or typhoid fever. When he died, the world trembled once more. Not in fear, but in uncertainty. His generals tore each other apart, his empire shattered into fragments. The world he had built collapsed like a constellation losing its brightest star. But his shadow remained. History records kings, tyrants, emperors, and warriors, but only a handful reshaped the very idea of power. Alexander did not merely conquer land, he conquered imagination. He forced empires to fear ambition itself. He proved that a single individual, driven by vision, sharpened by destiny, unrestrained by limits, could upend the balance of the world. And long after his cities fell, long after his generals divided his realm, long after centuries eroded the marks of his marches, the storm he unleashed never truly passed. Civilizations were studying his tactics. Kings measured themselves against his shadow. Conquerors whispered his name before battle. And the world he terrifies still carries the imprint of his footsteps. Where a young king from Macedon terrified every empire on earth, not because of what he conquered, but because of what he proved was possible.